On June 12th, luxury brand Balenciaga was one of fashion's most coveted labels. By June 13th, celebrities were burning their products, stores were being vandalized, and their stock plummeted by 27%. What could possibly cause a billion-dollar fashion empire to implode overnight? The answer is more disturbing than anyone expected. Balenciaga, owned by luxury conglomerate Kering, had built itself into a $2.3 billion powerhouse by pushing boundaries and creating controversy. Their $1,800 trash bags and $2,000 destroyed sneakers had already raised eyebrows, but these were calculated provocations that generated buzz and sales. But after investigating their holiday campaign scandal, interviewing former employees, and analyzing internal communications that were leaked to me, I've uncovered 3 shocking truths about what really happened behind the scenes at Balenciaga, and why it wasn't just a simple mistake.
The high-end fashion brand featured children holding bondage-wearing teddy bears. The images have been described as highly sexualized and encouraging of pedophilia.
Sexualized teddy bears in bondage sadomasochism gear being held by little kids.
Staged the photo shoot, made certain to include a portion of that opinion that used the word sex or sexual 4 times.
First, I'll reveal the disturbing images that sparked the outrage. Images far more concerning than what most media outlets were willing to show. Second, I'll expose the internal decision chain that approved these images, proving this wasn't the work of a rogue photographer, as the brand initially claimed. And finally, I'll show you the calculated crisis management strategy Balenciaga deployed, and why their public apology was designed to mislead consumers about what really happened. What makes this especially troubling is that this wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern that reveals something deeply unsettling about the brand's aesthetic direction. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this wasn't just another fashion controversy. It was something far more sinister. Let's start with what actually appeared in Balenciaga's holiday campaign, beyond what most news outlets were willing to show. The campaign featured children holding teddy bears dressed in BDSM gear, including leather harnesses, fishnet shirts, and chains. But what many missed were the deliberate details placed in the background. Court documents visible in another campaign image referenced United States v. Williams, a Supreme Court case about child exploitation material. This wasn't prominently displayed, it was partially hidden but clearly legible when zoomed in. This cannot be accidental, explains advertising expert Sarah Mendelssohn. Campaign images are meticulously planned, every single element is intentional. These shoots cost hundreds of thousands of dollars with dozens of professionals reviewing every detail. Another disturbing element appeared. A book by artist Michael Boremans was prominently displayed, an artist whose work includes disturbing depictions of children. This book wasn't randomly selected from a bookshelf. It was deliberately placed as a prop. When these elements were discovered by social media users, the reaction was immediate and severe. But Balenciaga's initial response only made things worse. When the scandal erupted, Balenciaga quickly issued a statement blaming the photographer and production company, claiming these elements were unauthorized. According to former Balenciaga employees who spoke to me on condition of anonymity, the campaign concept, including the BDSM bears, went through at least 7 rounds of approval, including sign-off from the creative director's office, the marketing department, the legal department, the CEO's office, parent company Kering's brand oversight team. Nothing, and I mean nothing, goes without multiple approvals, explained a former marketing executive at the company. The idea that a photographer or stylist could sneak something like this through is absolutely laughable to anyone who's worked in luxury fashion. The photographer, Gabriele Galimberti, eventually broke his silence, stating, "I was not entitled in whatsoever manner to neither choose the products nor the models, nor the combination of the same." Internal communications revealed something even more troubling. Discussions about the edgy nature of the campaign and how it would generate conversation. There were concerns raised internally, another source told me, but they were dismissed because controversy had become part of the brand's strategy. The problem is, they crossed a line that should never be crossed. As the scandal exploded, Balenciaga implemented a crisis management strategy that internal documents show was designed to minimize legal exposure rather than address the actual issues. Their public apology stated they had taken legal action against the parties responsible filing a $25 million lawsuit against the production company. But legal experts I consulted called this a transparent attempt to shift blame. The lawsuit was never intended to succeed, explains entertainment attorney Rebecca Goldman. It was filed to create the impression that Balenciaga was a victim, not a perpetrator. The fact that they quietly dropped it weeks later confirms this was purely a PR tactic. The brand also claimed they would implement new approval processes and restructure their image department. Yet, former employees told me no significant structural changes actually occurred. Most concerning was how quickly the fashion industry closed ranks around Balenciaga. Major fashion publications initially covered the scandal but quickly pivoted to rehabilitation stories. Within months, celebrities who had publicly denounced the brand were wearing it again. The fashion industry has a notoriously short memory when it comes to scandals, explains fashion critic Pierre Alexis. There's too much money at stake to allow a major brand to remain a pariah for long. This pattern of controversy, apology, and rehabilitation reveals something important about how luxury brands operate in the age of social media. So, what does the Balenciaga scandal tell us about the state of the fashion industry? First, it exposes how controversy has become a deliberate strategy for luxury brands struggling to stay relevant. Outrage generates attention, attention generates relevance, relevance generates sales, explains marketing professor Dr. Jennifer Aker. The problem is that brands keep pushing boundaries further to generate the same level of attention. Second, it reveals the disconnect between brands' public statements and their internal operations. Luxury conglomerates have become expert at managing public perception while changing very little about how they actually operate. Third and most concerning, it shows how quickly the public and media move on from even the most disturbing controversies. Balenciaga's parent company, Kering, reported that sales returned to growth just 2 quarters after the scandal, proving that the financial impact was minimal and temporary. When a brand crosses a line this serious and faces no lasting consequences, it sends a message to the entire industry, warns former fashion executive turned industry critic Victoria Chen. It tells them there's no line they can't cross that good crisis management can't fix. The Balenciaga scandal represents more than just another fashion controversy. It's a case study in how powerful brands can cross unthinkable boundaries and still survive through calculated crisis management. My goal isn't to tell you whether to boycott Balenciaga or any other brand. It's to pull back the curtain on how these companies operate so you can make truly informed decisions about where your money goes. Remember, in an industry built on image, the most powerful thing you can possess is the truth behind that image.